All right. Good evening, everyone. I want to especially welcome you all to class. This is the three of our professional training on health, safety, and environment. HSE level 1, level 2, and level 3. So we are taking the three levels together. Yes, and we've been on this class for the past 2 days. Today being the third day into the training, and hopefully today is going to be the last day for this class. I want to say welcome to class, and I want to appreciate your participation. I want to acknowledge and acknowledge your resilience being a part of this class, even though you have a tight schedule with you. So thank you for being a part of this class. Yes, my name is Kennedy Samson Ogumiwa, and yes, for many of us who have been part of this class, you by now are already familiar with this piece. So I'm going to be your moderator and host for this in today's class. Okay, so this training started 2 days ago, like I did mention, and a whole lot has been discussed in the course of the training. A whole lot that concerns health, safety, and environment. What are the things that you need to know? And yes, yesterday we did stop on a basic first aid. Yes, and we are going to be picking up from there in today's class. Okay, so yes, our resource person is here with us. That's the person of Mr. James Fanny, who has been so instrumental, who has been so resourceful uh, through the course or through the classes that we've had so far. And he's here with us. And trust me, in tonight's class, we are going to have dive deeper into what um, health safety and environment all entails. Yes, like I mentioned, we stopped on basic first aid in yesterday's class, and the little things that we need to know as a first aider, the essence of basic first aid, were all taught and discussed in that class. So in today's class, we are going to be touching on the pulmonary resuscitation process. So the resource person is going to touch on that as well, and other aspects of basic first aid that we need to know. Then we advance to other areas of this course. Okay, so do we have anyone who wasn't present in yesterday's class? If you were not present in yesterday's class, can you signify? Let me see if we have any. Okay, so if there's none, if there's any, rather, I would encourage you. We dropped the recorded session, the link to the recorded session on the class group, that's on the WhatsApp group. So please visit the WhatsApp group and try as much as possible to rewatch that class. It is there for the consumption, so you can have access to that recorded video anytime. So please try as much as possible to go back to it. If there are areas that you are not clear on, you can always revisit that video via the link to the class. Okay, so please, and if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please endeavor to do so. It's only with that you can access that recorded class. So we've made the videos and the videos of every of our other trainings available on that channel. So you can always go there and exercise your knowledge with those classes that we've dropped or released on that channel. Okay, so like I mentioned yesterday, at the end of this training, that's at the end of the class today, we are going to be dropping the course assessment. So the assessment is going to span through all that has been taught since the inception of this training. Yes, and also the resources, the materials that we use, we are equally going to be releasing it to make it available to you. So for many who are putting in for certification for this training, as you are getting the training certificate, you equally be getting the course material as well. Okay, so look out for that. So we are going to be making it available. So please prepare your minds. Everything that you have been taught in this class so far, you are going to be tested on it, which is the assessment that you are going to have that will be dropped on the WhatsApp platform at the end of this training. Okay, so please, if you have your questions at the end of the class, feel free to ask your questions. We'll be here. We are ready, more than ready to to give a response and answers to them and help you to be able to throw more clarity to whatever aspect of safety concerns that you have that you are not so clear on. Okay, so let's go straight to today's class. Resource person is here with us. That's the person of Mr. James Fadi. And in the next minute, you are going to be hearing his voice. Okay, just a minute. Let me bring class off. Let me bring up class recorder on. Okay. All right. Good evening, Mr. James. Mr. James, can you hear me, sir?
Good evening, sir.
Okay, good evening. Okay, thank you very much for joining us. Over to you, sir.
All right, thank you. Okay, thank you, Mr. Kendi. I want to welcome everyone to today's class. So that's the continuation of our training on earth safety and environment, HSE. So we've been on this training for some time now. So today, hopefully, we will do the best we can to bring it to uh, a close. So in the last class, we dealt with a lot, and the moderator has done a beautiful job in giving some summary of the things that we did in the previous class. So in that class, we stopped on first aid. So that's where we stopped. We stopped on first aid, and I want to start today's class with a briefing about occupational health. Although in the previous classes we have already discussed, while we are discussing about hazards, we talked about economic hazards. So, and that is why it's good for us to talk about occupational health. So, occupational health, it's actually the broader view of the impact of economic hazard on individual workers within the workplace. So when we are talking about occupation, one thing that our mind should be on is that we are talking about the things you do regularly. Either you are doing it for payment or not. When somebody asks you that, what is your occupation? What they are simply expecting you to talk about is what are the things that you really do, you engage in, perhaps on a daily basis or on a regular basis. And that is the concept of occupation. And when we talk about occupational health, we are not talking about, you know, the impact that your occupation has on your health, or perhaps how you'll be able to attend to your occupation without a negative impact on your health. So that's what we're talking about. So it's a repetitive thing. It's something regular activities. That's what we refer to as occupation. And that's why it's very important for us to be concerned about the occupational health. The benefits of occupational health is very important, not just to the employees, even to the employers. When the employees have issues with their health, of course it's going to affect the productivity of the company. And even if you think that the company can fire and hire another person, if you really want to think about it, the process of hiring a new employee is not really an easy task. Before you can now induct the person into the company's culture and company system again. So it's not like somebody who has been working with you for 10 years, who already knows, understand the nook and cranny of your company and understand the job. They could easily work with less supervision. So you wouldn't want to lose that kind of person. So as it is beneficial to the employee, it is also beneficial to the employer. So it's the benefit is that it helps us to improve the staff motivation and performance. So when the staff are healthy, when the employees are healthy, when we care so much about their health, definitely their motivation will be high. Okay, their performance will be high, just like I've explained. They'll be able to concentrate on their job, and definitely that will lead to profitability for the company. Also, the retention of the staff, will also be achieved. You'll be able to retain your staff. Uh, by records, there are some companies that almost every year they have to hire people. They have to hire people almost every year, because people only enter into that company because they have nothing else to do. It's not a kind of company that you really want to reckon with, that, oh, maybe you have a career there or you can actually grow there. So when people work in those kind of companies, they only work there because, perhaps maybe the economy is bad for them, or they have not gotten their desired job. That is why they get there. So within 1 year, you will see that when they get a better opportunity, they will leave. One of those things that may really eh, kind of affect, their decisions not to stay in the company, is how the company's management, their view or their involvement in the occupational health. Okay, what are the plans that you have, or what are the things that you have in place to really to really ensure the staff that, yes, you care about their well-being. You are not just after, getting the job done at the expense of their health. So the attendance and the retention of the staff is going to be uh, very high, and is going to be on a positive side if the occupational health is actually being taken care of. So even your public image will also be improved. It will give you a good public image. Nobody would love a company where people get accidents, here and there, and you get to hospital, you see people that are injured, and you ask them what happened. They say is this company. You see another person, this company, this machine cut this person's hand today, another person tomorrow, or what's it called, the person could not hear very well again. They say, where was he working? It's also company and all that. So you wouldn't want a bad name, you wouldn't want a bad reputation. So it gives you a good company a good public image if the occupational health is actually prioritized. Okay, so it also kind of reduces the level of illnesses and diseases, among the staff. You wouldn't be hearing that this person is sick today, this person is sick tomorrow, is out of job, 2 days is still in hospital and all that. So the nature of the environment, the earth concern with the occupation, can result to what? Illnesses and what? Sickness. But when occupational health is being taken care of, definitely it's going to improve the health of the staff, and reduce the rate at which people may fall sick, and be taking some sick leave of the company. What about the safety legislation? So it will actually help you to conform to the health and safety legislation. There are legislations, okay, that company afterwards, or industries have to conform to. Okay, there are legislations, there are legal implications to things that you do when it comes to what? Staff health. There are companies that they have HMO for their staff. All this kind of plan is actually in line with occupational health, just to be sure that what? Oh, the staff are what? Healthy. Because it is only when they are healthy, that is when they can serve the company well. Garbage in, garbage out. That's the way it is. So it will also reduce risk and cost of litigation. So if a staff, an employee felt that what you have done is you know you have not taken responsibility of, you have not done well about the his health or something like that, they can sue you. Okay, they can sue you. And if it happens to be in a society where justice reigns, definitely the company may have to pay through through his nose. Okay, the company may pay through our nose to actually what service the litigation against them. Okay, there was I don't know if I used this example in my previous class or maybe in another safety training. I have somebody who is very very close to me. I wouldn't say was because we are not in the same country again. So, but then we're very close and we are still close. We are still in we still talk and chat once in a while. So then his elder brother actually works with he was working with a company that deals with work at height. So, and they use a crane and all this. So there was a day they were working and the crane suffered a free fall. And you know what that means when people were actually falling, they were just falling from at height like that, and they were inside what crane. So there were two, and when it was actually investigated, it happened to be the fault of the company. A lot of things they're supposed to put in place, like we are going to discuss in this class. The JSA was not properly what done, and all that job safety analysis was not done. So that incident was actually due to the negligence of the company. So unfortunately for the young man, no, the one that happens to be the elder brother to the person, this person that I said I know very well, his elder brother was there with another young man. So the other brother, his jaw was shifted, he lost his teeth, uh, he had some bruises, broken leg, and all that. In fact, it was it was a very terrible one. But as bad as what happened to him or what he suffered during this incident, as bad as it wasn't as bad as the one of the young man. The young man that was with him was said to be, to have his wedding, ahead of him. Like his wedding was around the corner. That's his wedding date. Was around the corner. He was a young man just about to get married, and in the process of this incident, he lost his spinal cord, and it was just like as good as vegetable. When we say vegetable, he couldn't move to the extent that he was the one even bargaining with the medical practitioners to inject him. Maybe he should just die. That what is he alive for? Somebody that was as young as that at his age, but now for him to we on his we pee on his body, we defecate on his body. For him to even change this the way he's lying down, they have to come and roll him and all that. So it was a very horrible, incident. It was a very very bad one, and that was due to the negligence of the company. But that's not where I'm going. What led me into this illustration was about the litigation. So definitely the company had to take responsibility. So they were in the hospital 1 month. The company was still coping. They were still paying and all this. You know what it means when somebody have a spinal cord issues. The other, the one that happens to be the elder brother to the person I know, his jaw was shifted. So you know what that means. The kind of surgery we go through. He lost his teeth. That they have to fix artificial teeth, everything in his mouth and all that. So at a point when it got to like 3 months after that incident, the the company was getting tired and they wanted to pull out, and that is where the legal case came in. Of course, they already had a case. That for the fact that they were even taking care of them doesn't mean that they cannot still be sued, because these people might not be able to return to job. So what will happen to their responsibility? We will take care of them. We used to have them on the payroll despite the fact that they are not your staff again and all that. So there will be a lot of legal implications. But it was as worse as they wanted to back out of their medical bills, that they have tried. Now this is now 3 months. They have paid and paid and paid. And man, a lot of legal uh, legal practitioners started coming out, all these NGO and everything. They were using all these things to actually fight them from back to back, just for them to do what is right. Because they know that that didn't take care of themselves, or they didn't do what they have to do, it was due to the negligence of the company, and they have to bear the body. So it's as bad as that. So as a company, what it will take to put, occupational health in place, or to do what is right, wouldn't you can't compare the cost. In fact, the cost of doing that is so negligible to what you will suffer if the unexpected actually what happened. And that's why it's good that every company should make occupational health like their watchword, and it should be, infused into the company practice. So let's talk about ergonomics under this. Let's still emphasize more on it. So ergonomics actually hold to the principle that uh, we need to fit the job to the worker and not the worker to the job. Okay. So what it means is that let's try to use a whiteboard. So it is not the worker that need to adjust to fit into a job. Okay. Let's say this is the worker and this is the job. This is the job. This is the worker. Now I want you to, so if we want to fit the worker into the job, it's just like you said that, well, this is the job. No matter how difficult it is, you are the one that should adjust yourself to fit in, to get it done. That is a wrong concept. So we don't fit the worker into the job, but it is the job that we fit into the worker. In other words, we adjust the job in such a way that it will not affect the health of the what employee, and not that what we adjust the employee so that what it will fit into the job. So if we are fitting employee into the job, we are going to have a diagram like this. It means that what the employee should be the one that we fit in. Just find a way to get it done. Don't complain. And this is the culture, or let me say, this is the wrong practice of many companies. So you see the employee, they are the one that will be struggling to just get things done, with all the stress, with all the strain, with all the struggles and everything. You just want to deliver. You just want to deliver. You just want to deliver with a lot of threats. Okay, if you don't do this, this is what will happen and everything, and ultimately the fear of being sacked. So we don't fit the worker into the job, but the normal practice is to fit the job into the worker. So this is what we should have. It should be the what? Employee, and the job should be the one that we fit in such a way that the employee is carried to be what? Bigger than the job, and not the job bigger than him. If you look at this place now, okay, it is the employee that fits into the job. Okay, but here it is the job that we what adjusted to fit into the what employee. So that's the concept of the ergonomy. In ergonomy, fitting the job to the worker, okay, is the important thing that we need to do. Okay, and unfortunately today, uh most companies want to fit the worker into the job, and not fitting the job into the what employee. So in other words, you need to understand my terminologies. We need to adjust the task. We need to adjust the job so that it will be suitable for the employee. That's what ergonomics actually what preach. We adjust the job so that what it will what fit in to what the employees can do without any negative impact on their health, and not adjusting. We are adjusting the employee so that what they must get the job done, comes what may. So it is very important that we pay attention to this. I just want to adjust. So ergonomics refers to the adaptation, just like I've explained, modification, manipulation of machinery. So it is the machinery we are going to manipulate, is the one that we are going to modify, is the one that we are going to adapt. Okay, adaptation, manipulation, modification of machinery. Work environment, we adjust the work environment. Work and rest schedule, we adjust our shift pattern. The work and rest schedule, the job demands, we adjust it so that what it to suit the capacity, the limitations and expectations of the workers. So you see this. So adjustment, manipulation of the machinery that we use, our work environment, the nature of our job, the shift pattern, the work and rest schedule, the job demands. These are the things we need to manipulate so that what they will be suitable to the capacity, the limitations and expectations of the workers. So that is what ergonomic what actually what preach. So we have talked elaborately about the rest, talking about what the hazards, talking about hazards, types of hazards, the physical, the chemical, the biological hazards, okay, psychological, and we have talked about the rest of these while we were discussing about hazards, and I just have to lay emphasis on the ergonomics. So let's move to basic fire safety. And before we do that, if you're online with me, if you are with me here, please let me see you give me thumbs up. Let me just have a thumbs up from you. If you are online with me, just give me a thumbs up. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. So we can move on. So what is fire? If I may ask us this basic question, what is fire? Is there anybody here who has witnessed a fire incident before? Go to the comment section. Just go to the comment section and in message, just tell us if you have experienced any fire incidents before. Okay, if you have witnessed, it might not be that you were involved. If you have witnessed it, just go to the comment section. Okay, so if you have witnessed any fire incidents before, just or you have had any encounter with fire outbreak before, or narrowly escape fire outbreak, so you can share that in the comment section. So let's have that. Okay, so when we talk about fire, the best way to address it is for us to talk about its components. Okay, so the component of course, we are not here for just theory. All of us know what fire is. I'm not here to be giving you the grammatical definition and all that, but what really make up fire? Okay, it is fire that we see, but it is three components that combine to form fire that we normally see. And these three components, we have them as the fuel. Okay, we have the heat, and we have the oxidizing agent, which is the oxygen. You see, these three things are the one that combine to form what we see as a fire. Okay, they are the one that come together to form fire. So it is very important for us to know that there is no fire without these three components. There is nothing called fire without these three components. Now let's analyze it very well. The fuel is talking about there must be something for fire to feed on. That's the food for the fire. Okay, there must be something that fire needs to feed on. That is the food. Something must be burning for fire to burn. For you to say there is fire, there is something that is actually burning. Either wood, either flammable liquid, okay, either metal, whatever it is, something must be what? Burning. Either due to electrical spark or electrical, electrically energized one. So something must be burning. So that is the fuel. What about the heat? Okay, there is a level of temperature, ignition that the fire actually needs to survive on. It's just like a human being. Okay, Human being also have the body temperature, okay, at least 47 degree, 45, 46, 47, ranging from that. So I mean 35 to 42. I think that's the range. Okay, between 35 to 42, they will tell you that what it's actually what maybe the surviving temperature for human beings. I think the averagely 37 degree Celsius. So for human being, so we have our own, body temperature that will know that, oh, it is earthful, okay, for you to have. So when you go to hospital and they test your temperature, they know whether you are what normal, or you are already having fever, or something is actually wrong in you. So you know uh I mean, we have a range, okay, that between 35 to 42, okay, you can still be considered normal, like you can survive it, okay. But anything higher than 42 is already abnormal, or is already going on a high side. In fact, in some cases 42 is already high. What this 35 to 42 is just giving is just the range, okay, with which we know that what you can still survive. Once your temperature is reaching 45, it's already like the person can die at any time. And likewise, temperature must not be too low, okay. If your temperature is already, one of the first thing that you will know when somebody give up or somebody died is that what their body will become so cold, because their blood has stopped circulating, their heart has stopped pumping, okay. Heat is not being generated again. There is no internal heat or internal energy already. So you see the temperature will drop drastically. So if human beings have the temperature they can operate with, also fire has what temperature, okay, and there is combustion temperature, for every material to burn. Let me put it that way. There is combustion level of temperature for every material to actually what burn. Like for human being now, I've already, so even if the temperature, you are bringing if the temperature is 35, 30, 37, still you can still survive it, okay. But just like in those days when I was working in cement plants, okay, so we have what we call rotary kiln. That's inside where the real material that we call cement is actually being burnt, okay. So the material will be burnt. In fact, the temperature is as high inside kiln, temperature inside kiln is as high as 1450 degrees Celsius. So you can imagine this temperature, to the extent that whenever they want to maintain this particular machinery, whenever they want to maintain this kiln, sometimes kiln will be shut down, and for days it's still cooling off. Nobody can go near. It may take like 3 4 days for it to cool off before people can actually begin to go near. Even those people that will go near, that's after like 4 days, you will still know that the temperature here is not normal, because they will be sweating and all that. So you can imagine, human being, with this kind of what temperature, 1450, you can't survive it. In fact, you won't be able to even regain the person's body to even bury. So likewise, all these I'm explaining is for you to know that what there is what the combustion temperature, temperature for every material to burn. And that's what the need for heat, okay. There should be heat. And that's why the nature of fire is that fire is usually hot, because that heat is needed, is what makes it fire. It is what keeps that fire to actually be what we call what fire. Once the heat is out, or any of these components or constituent is out, fire will be quenched. So the third one is oxygen. Every human being also needs air to breathe. So the fire also was survive on what? Oxygen. It needs oxygen. And that's why you see that what if you choke fire, if you just like normal human being, when you choke a human being, okay, definitely the person will what? Will die. Likewise, if you can choke fire in such a way that what there is no air, you stop the supply of oxygen to that what to that particular fire. Is these are the concept of what fire extinguisher. Okay, some fire extinguishers are designed in a way that what they have to choke air in such a way that what they will fight the oxygen in such a way that what the fire will not be able to breathe. That's how they can extinguish the fire. There are some fire extinguishers that what they are designed to to isolate the fuel. That's the food. Just like human being, if you don't see food, you know you have your limits that you can go, that without food you will still survive. There is a limit to it. There are some, a length of days that if they can actually what take away food and lock somebody up, naturally the person will die. So likewise fire, if there is nothing to feed on, there are some fire extinguishers that they are designed to actually what attack what the fuel. That's the food that the fire is feeding on. They are to isolate it. Once they are able to what to take this out, definitely what fire will what die. And there's some fire extinguisher that what they fight is the heat. They just bring down the heat, just like what I've explained. If they bring down the temperature of human being to a particular level, the person will die, will grow cold and die. So if the combustion level of a particular fire that is burning, if the combustion temperature is 35 and you are able to bring it what down by using a particular fire extinguisher that is designed to what fight that aspect of what of a constituent of fire, definitely what the fire will die. So we must know that what for us to have what fire, there must be enough oxygen to sustain combustion, enough heat to raise the material to its ignition temperature, like I've explained, and some sort of fuel or combustible material that can burn. All these three things must be complete, and that's what give us what fire triangle. So this is fire triangle. So you can see we have fire in the middle. There must be oxygen, heat, and fuel. These three combined together is what give us what fire. Without that, we cannot have a fire. Thank you for being with me in the class. Thank you for staying through. If you are still with me on that introduction to fire safety, let me see you give me thumbs up. Thumbs up. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's talk about fuel itself. Different things. We have different things that burn. Okay, different things that can actually burn. And because of some of the differences in the features of these things that burn, it is very important for us to what put them into classes. It will help us not just for the sake of what categorizing them. It will help us to actually know what to do in a case there is what fire, and this particular thing is what is the one burning. There are some material that if we want to actually what fight them, so what we can do is to bring down their what maybe their ignition temperature. There are some that what we can do is to find something that can react with the oxygen so that it will take out the what oxygen. And there are some that what we just have to isolate the fuel from fire so that the fire will what naturally starve and die. Okay, so that's what leads us to classifications of fuel. We have the class A, class B, class C, class D. You may see some other ones and all that, but these are basics for our discussion. So the class A are solid combustible materials that are not metals. So we are talking about things that can burn, solid materials that can burn, but that are not metals. Those are the class A. And when you're talking about solid materials that can burn, which are not metals, this is where you have your wood, this is where you have paper, you have clothes, you have trash, you have plastic. Okay, so all these are combustible materials, solid combustible materials, which are non-metals. We have the class B, which happens to be the flammable liquids. That's non-metal in what? So liquid what state. So liquid combustible materials. Let me put it that word. Let me put it in that in that sentence. Liquid combustible non-metals. Okay, so which we can put in a simple term as flammable liquids. And when you're talking about flammable liquids, you have your kerosene, you have your fuel, that's your petrol, your oil, okay, that you use to cook and all that. All these are flammable liquids, or we can call them non-metal, combustible liquid substances. Non-metal combustible liquid substances, flammable liquids. So that those are your class B. The class C are electrical equipment. Okay, electrically energized equipment. And when we are talking about electrical equipment, we don't care under fire safety to know whether there is a power supply or not. Whenever or anytime you see any equipment being plugged, if you can see the plug that what, oh, there is plug there and it enter into a socket, we don't want to care whether that socket has what, electrical energy or not. We consider it to be what, an electrically what, energized equipment when it comes to fire safety. In as much it is plugged in, you see your TV, it is plugged in, whether what there is power supply or not. If there is fire outbreak in that kind of case, you will fight that fire as if you are fighting fire that is being caused by an electrical source. That's what I'm explaining. You wouldn't say, because normally when your TV set is not plugged in, or let me say when it is not plugged in, okay, you can begin to treat it like almost your class A, because all the casings and everything, those are the things that the fire will first fight. All the plastic casing, the packaging and all that, they are under class A. So it's as good as class A, except when the fire is not getting to the metallic what aspect of the what of the equipment. But for the fact that what the TV is plugged in, so we have to consider it as what, an electrically what, energized equipment. So after that we have class D, which, except you are working in laboratories or some specific industry, that's when you may encounter that. So we are talking about metals: potassium, sodium, aluminum, magnesium. So when these burn, we call them what, class D. And if you are to fight fire that is being caused by this, they are being fought in a special way. We use a metal X, okay, the substance. Or you see like all these fire fighters, you see foam, okay, most of the equipment they use contain what, metal X, foam, that they use to actually fight such a fire. And why they also use that is because when they are coming, whatever they will use to fight fire must be such that can attack class A, class B, class C, class D. So whatever may be burning in there, okay, what they are using must be able to what, to fight it and what, extinguish it. Okay, and that's why they make use of that. So let's move on. So the importance of what we are discussing is for us to know that it is very, very risky for you to start fighting fire when you don't know what is burning. You have to know what is burning. You have to use the right or the correct fire extinguishers, because using a wrong fire extinguisher to attack fire can make the matter worse. It can make the matter worse. In some cases, you see that people generalize that what, anything that is fire, water can actually fight it. That is a blatant lie, and that is because of lack of orientation, okay, or lack of what, fire safety knowledge. It is not all fire that what water can fight. In fact, there are some materials, especially the flammable liquids, when they are burning and you are pouring water, it's just as if you are giving that fire, you are giving it what? More energy. Okay? You are energizing the fire, you are getting the fire, you are getting it much more furious. So it will burn more than you ever what expected. Okay? In most cases, for you, if you see any fire that is being put out with what? Just pouring of water and all that, perhaps these are what is actually burning is in the categories of what? Class A. Okay, because what water will do, of course, you is to what? Bring down what? The ignition what? Temperature. So if you are using water to fight what? Maybe class A, yes, if that fire is being put out, you may think that, oh, you have done magic, but water will definitely put that out. You can't use water on electrically caused fire. All of us know here that what? Water would actually what? Increase the conductivity of the what? Of the electricity, and your life will be in danger if you are using water to fight. Let's say it's still electrically energized and you're just pouring water. You are not safe. Everywhere that the water pour to, if it's electrical wrong connection, or you have a short circuiting and everything, everywhere will be what? Will be electrified. And God forbid that kind of situation, the repercussion is going to be very, very terrible. So you don't use water to just say you use it to attack every source of fire. That is not uh it is not okay, and it is not in line with fire safety knowledge. So we have fire extinguishers, and fire extinguishers, from the word extinguishers, when you are extinguishing, it means that to put out. So when you are extinguishing fire, you are putting out the fire, you are killing the fire. So these equipment are actually being what? Kind of built for you to use. They are made handy for you to what? Use to fight fire. Now, one thing that we must know is that what? Fire extinguishers are designed to fight small fire. You can't see a building that is already engulfed with fire. Fire extinguishers are mostly effective when the fire just starts growing. That's the early stage, before it becomes something big. Okay, once it grows into what? Something big, then you need what? To get what? The help of what? Fighting departments. Fire department will have to step in. And when you look at them, if you have seen the videos of where they actually what? Fight fire, we may actually share some of these videos on our discussion platform. So you will see that the kind of way the skills that they use is something that make them distant from where what? The fire is actually burning. The kind of the pressure with which the materials they are fighting with is coming from their holes is at high pressure. So they are trained for it, and they are meant for fire that has gone out of hand. Okay, that you cannot use. It's not on a smaller scale again. There is no amount of fire extinguisher that you can use at that level that can work, except you want to endanger your life, because your proximity to the source that is burning must be such that will be okay for your health and for your safety. But for fire extinguisher, you have to what? Come close. You have to aim at the base and all that. You can't do that when the fire has actually what? Engulfed everywhere. So let's quickly discuss the types of fire extinguishers. So we have air pressurized water extinguishers. We have carbon dioxide extinguishers. We have dry chemical extinguishers. Now, one good thing that will help you to know how to rightly use these fire extinguishers to fight the right, fuel, is that there is always a pictograph label on them. The pictograph label on them will contain the class of fuel that you can use the fire extinguisher to fight. Let me repeat that again. There is usually what? A pictograph what? Label on fire extinguishers, which will actually what contain information about the classes of what fuel that you can use the fire extinguisher for. So without wasting time, let's look at the APW, that's the air pressurized water extinguishers. Of course, the way you actually worded it, you should know that what definitely what it contains water. About two-thirds of it is being filled with what ordinary tap water, and the rest is actually being what pressurized with what normal air. So what we use APW to fight are the what class A fuels. Your paper, your wood, clothes. These are the materials that if they are burning, you can easily pick up your APW to actually what fight it. APW does not fight any other classes of fire except what class A. You can't use water or APW because the major constituent there is water. You can't use it to fight class B, which is flammable liquid. You can't use it to fight class C, which is electrically energized. You can't use it to fight class D, which is what metals. So we use APW to fight, and the constituent of fire that APW attack is what? Heat. So it will attack what? Heat. Its own work is to bring down the ignition temperature such a way that what? Fire will not be able to what? To survive, and then it will die naturally. So the other one is a carbon dioxide extinguishers, that's the CO2. Okay, CO2. And when you look at CO2, many of us will still remember redox reaction. Okay, redox reaction in the chemistry. If you actually what remember that, if you did the sciences back then in school. But what I want to what explain in this case is that what CO2, the aspect of fire constituent that CO2 will attack is the oxygen. So the work of the what CO2, the carbon dioxide there, is to displace what the oxygen, or take away the what oxygen element of the fire triangle. So once it attacks the oxygen, fire cannot breathe, and the rest of the two constituents cannot continue to be what fire. So naturally what the fire will what die. So what classes of fuel can we use CO2 extinguisher on? So we can use it to fight what class B and class C. Take note, CO2 is not being used to fight what class A. CO2 is not being used to fight class A. Majorly, CO2 is being used to fight class B, which is what flammable liquids, and class C, which is electrically what energized. In most cases, when you use CO2, because the typical feature of carbon dioxide fire extinguisher, the typical feature of it is that it is highly pressurized. It has high pressure, and that is why it doesn't come with gauge. So it does not have what gauge. There is no gauge, okay, on the CO2 extinguisher. There is no gauge, so it comes with what large horn. The horn of a CO2 fire extinguisher. The horn is always like this. So this is the mouth, okay, and then you have the hose, and this to the fire extinguisher container itself. So this is it. So there is no gauge here. CO2 does not have gauge because it is highly pressurized. Okay, and then you have what the handle where you put your hand. In the physical demonstration class, all these are feasible, and I'll also try to give you some engaging video in our discussion class. So we have this. Okay, so this is how the typical look of a CO2 fire extinguisher. So it is highly pressurized. So it's very easy for you to actually what see it and know that what this is CO2. That is what I'm trying to explain. So there's no gauge on it. Unlike the APW, there will be gauge on it. There will be gauge on it that will be able to see, okay, the pressure gauge is on it. But in CO2, there's no pressure gauge. Okay. and it comes with a large horn like this. Okay, so you'll be able to what recognize it. So it is used to fight class B and class C. But there's something I wanted to explain. If you mistaken CO2 and you use it on class A, because of the high pressure, it may look like the fire is out when you use it, because if you are using CO2 for the very first time, once you once you actually discharge the CO2 out of the fire extinguisher, in fact you may drop the fire extinguisher and run away because of the pressure with which it will come out. So that pressure may kind of submerge the fire that is burning a class A fuel and make it look like the fire is actually out. But trust me, within 2 seconds or 3 seconds, the fire will reignite. That is the typical, uh, mistake that could happen when you are using CO2 to fight class A. It will look like the fire is out, but before you even turn your back, it will reignite. So we don't use CO2 on class A, rather we use it on what? Class B and C. The last one is the dry chemical extinguishers. Like the name implies, it is what? Made of what? Chemical. Okay. So the powder inside it is mono ammonium phosphate. Okay. And nitrogen is used to pressurize the extinguisher. So you have nitrogen as the gas that is being used to pressurize it. And that's why you see that the typical thing about dry chemical is that when you discharge it, it's very good for you to finish it once you have discharged it. If not, once you have actually discharge it, if you don't finish the whole of the chemical in it that day, or let's say the fire quickly, you're able to put out the fire quickly and just think that, okay, I can hang it and reuse. The next day that you will go there won't be pressure in it again. So when you are using it, the powder will just be coming out without pressure. And without pressure, it will not be effective. So the nitrogen there would have escaped, all of them, overnight. So the best thing is that once you use it, you have to take it for reservicing, if it has not the container has not expired. Okay, so the dry chemical in there is monoammonium phosphate, and it is pressurized with nitrogen. So what do we use dry chemical for? You have to take note of the pictograph label. You have to take note of it for you to know what type of fuel you can use it to fight. Most dry chemical, in fact, the main purpose of dry chemical is for us to be able to use it on class A, class B, and class C. And that is why it is the type of fire extinguisher that is recommended for you to have inside your car. It is the type of fire extinguisher that is recommended for you to have in your kitchen. Because in your car, you have type A, type B, you have class A, class B, class C kind of fuel present. Your car seats are part of class A. Your car body are part of what? Class A. The paddings, all the paddings in your car, they are class A that could burn. They are solid, non-metal combustible materials. You have the fuel inside your car, and that is the flammable liquid, the class B. And being that you have battery, you have things that use electrical source, your radio, your camera inside your car and all that. Okay, they make use of the electrical source, they make you your lamp and all that. So the class C is also present inside your car, and that is why we need the fire extinguisher that can fight class A, class B, class C. And that's the effectiveness of dry chemical, because it is built to be able to fight these three classes of fuels. However, there are some dry chemical that when you check the pictograph, they will just indicate on it that it is designed to fight only class B and C. So you have to check. You have to be intentional to still check. That's by the fact that you know that it is dry chemical. So let's quickly look at some rules when it comes to fighting fire. I'm taking my time because it's really very important. Fire safety is in fact, you have not done anything about safety. If you have not, you can see the way I spent a great deal of time on basic first aid also, because all these are very, very important. When you are working in industry, one of the high risk is fire incidents. Okay, fire incidents is common in most industries. Okay, it's very, very common, and that is why you have to have the knowledge of the safety precautions. So, what are the rules for fighting fires? It is very important that you need to know that when you are leaving a building where there is already fire outbreak, there are what we call fire alarms. Some companies normally install fire alarms. So you have to sound the alarm in the building. You have to sound the alarm. The purpose of the alarm is for you to warn others, other people that may be present in the building, okay, or in that vicinity, for them to also run to safety, for them to know that what there is what fire outbreak. In fire drilling, all employees must be acquainted with what the sound of fire alarm. They must know when the fire alarm is being what when you when it's being energized. When you energize what the fire alarm, when you put it on, people that hear you, that are working in that vicinity, must know that what something is wrong. Okay, so because in the fire drilling, in all the employees must have been trained to know how it sound. Okay, you also need to leave the building immediately. So as you make attempts to sound the fire alarm, you have to leave the building. Somebody may ask, what happens if there is no fire alarm? Then you use your mouth. Your mouth become the natural what? Fire alarm. Fire, 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 fire. Everybody run. Fire. If you have seen, most of these things, even if you have not seen it in real life, you might have seen it in some highly intelligent movies. Okay, where you have to be dramatic enough, because some people are very, very, you know, they are very sluggish. They may think that it's a prank. You have to look convincing for them to know that what everybody needs to start running. Okay, and then as you are leaving the building, try as much as possible that what you shut doors, windows as much as possible that you can. You know, the purpose of this is for you to restrict, oxygen, like the quantity of oxygen that may really interact with fire, because the more the air to feed on, the more the fire will grow. So you really need to help in choking the fire. When you choke it, it will, even if it will grow, it will not be so rapid. Okay, and then you call the fire department. Everyone should have it as an emergency line to call the fire department. I think it's toll free in most countries and states. We have 112, and I have in some trainings that I've actually facilitated. I have people who testify that what they have called that line in this part of the world, in Nigeria. I don't know what it is in Ghana. And if you're attending this training, anywhere you're attending this training, you have to find out what is that emergency line in your country. It has to be something that you know. You have to have that emergency line. Some countries have the general one. Either it is fire case, either it is flood or any disaster. So they have it like a general line that you can call. They are now the one that will now forward your call to the right department. If it's fire you are calling on, so they will forward it. So they have like a centralized emergency number that you can call. So you call the fire department so that they could be on their way to actually help. So it is very important that you evacuate the building immediately. In most cases, some people will be that's where they will be thinking about their properties that is inside. They have a file inside. In most cases, it does not end well. It will look like you will dash in and dash out. But most cases when people dash in like that they want to go and rescue a particular file or a particular document, they will get trapped inside, and that will be the end. So when you are out, you have to be out until the fire department certify that what you can go in. Because when you are alive, you still have hope. There is no document that you cannot recover when you still have that life in there and you are still healthy to do it. So you have to know, you have to be able to think straight. Except when it comes to life that somebody is trapped in. And if somebody is trapped in, you have to allow people that are experienced to do the job. Because if you cannot help yourself, you can't help others. If you rush in with emotions that you want to go and help somebody and you don't have knowledge of what fire safety, both of you will be trapped in, and both of you might actually become history with that particular incident. So you have to allow people that are trained for this, or that have the understanding, that have gone through this kind of sensitization that we are doing right now, to help. So it is very, very important that we take note of this. Never, these are the rules, these are the never rules. Never fight fire if you don't know what is burning. If you don't know what is burning, don't fight it. I have encountered, public fire incidents on vehicles twice, and to the glory of God, God has helped me twice to help, save. Was it the first one was a vehicle, the other one was a building. Okay, people don't know what to do, and the knowledge of fire safety it should be a generic knowledge, except that you don't have a house where you stay and everything. It's not really an industrialized knowledge. It's even in your even it's very applicable to as a domestic knowledge. Okay, most fires start from the kitchen. Most fires start from the junction box, overloading and all that. When you have the right orientation about fire safety, there are so many things that you are doing that you will not do because they are so dangerous. And it's better you prevent it from happening than for you to now try to control it when it had eventually happened. So it is very, very important. Never fight fire when you don't know what is burning. Like in the case of the one that happened, I was just coming, I think I was coming from somewhere, and it was very close to my environment. So the bus was burning profusely. What they were still doing, they didn't know what was burning. Of course, if you look at a car, like I've analyzed in this class, it could be a class A that is burning, it could be class B, it could be class C when you see a car that is burning, because you don't know yet. What if the fire started on the battery? That is electrical. What is the fuel? That is the flammable. What if it's just the car seat and it started from it is very rare for fire to start from the car seat, except that you are a smoker and then you smoke and then it drop on the seat and all that. Most fire always start from your bonnet. And when it starts from the bonnet, it might be battery in most cases, because I've experienced this in my car before. So if your bonnet hanger, which is metal, if it's not insulated and it touch the battery terminal, that could actually lead to fire, like in the case of what I had experienced before in my car. So I had to take it down. Then it was so insulated that, yes, to some extent you can be rest assured that, God forbid any other case, but it shouldn't be this again. So what are we talking about? You have to know what is burning. So in the case of the balls that I said I encountered, I had to pause. I watched what people were doing. They were even pushing the balls. They say, oh, let's push it, let's push it. They were pushing it, and that is how it was gathering more oxygen to grow bigger. They were fetching water from a nearby place there, pouring water. The fire was growing bigger. I already suspected that, oh, this is not class A. this fire has actually maybe got into the battery and everything. And lo and behold, somebody was around there with dry chemical, all this portable fire extinguisher. So I just heard from the crowd that, oh, and there's fire extinguisher, nobody knows how to use it. You can imagine. The man was holding the fire extinguisher, but nobody, it was a large crowd. Nobody around that place knew how to use the fire extinguisher. And that was the time for me to get into action. Got to him, snatched the, almost like I snatched the fire extinguisher because he was still asking me some gibberish question. Sir, do you know how to use it? And one of the things that you will learn in this class is that when you're using fire extinguisher, you have to aim it to the base of the fire. Some people use fire extinguisher, they will be fighting the smoke, because when the fire is burning, the smoke will actually what be at the top. So the main source is beneath. The fire extinguisher will be effective when you aim it at what is really burning, the source that is burning. So for me to actually have a clearer view, I had to order them that they should lift the bus, they should lift it up. Like 4 of them, they should just lift it up, because I saw fire that it was actually what beneath the bus, that the fire was growing. In fact, as they were pushing the bus, the fire was dropping like cake. You know, when you see where fire burns, you will be amazed. It was dropping. The flame, the fire was dropping like it was cake, as if you are, you are baking and then you are cutting flour into the frying pan. That is how the fire was dropping. So they have to raise it up, and I used the fire extinguisher. What they have been sweating on, within 2-3 minutes, the fire was out. And I turned the hero of the day. The other one was in a building, like two-story building, and what happened? It was this gas cylinder. The gas cylinder caught fire, and if you don't take a rapid action, it might actually what explode, and it won't be funny. In fact, this one, there was no fire extinguisher. I have to use the smoldering method, okay, to take out the fire. So all this is very important. I was able to do this because I knew what was burning. If you don't know what was burning, so you have to know what is actually burning. Your instinct, if your instinct tell you not to do anything, please don't try it. You cannot experiment with fire. If your instinct is telling you that, man, this is dangerous, this is bigger than I think, don't move an inch. The final rule is to always position yourself, when you position yourself backing the exit. You know what this means? It means that if you are fighting fire, okay, if you are fighting fire, if this is the exit door, okay, and you are fighting fire, make sure you position yourself in such a way that you have your back to the exit, because the fire is burning here, and this is you using the fire extinguisher to fight it. What happens if the fire grows bigger than you ever expected? In most cases, the fire will be advancing. As you are fighting it, it will be advancing. So in a case that you cannot handle it again, at least you have an exit. You can you can run out. But it will be a very big mistake for you to have your back to the wall, if this is the wall, and here you are fighting fire. Okay, you are fighting fire here, and there is no exit plan for you. You are just fighting, and the fire is advancing towards you, and you got here and you couldn't go anywhere. What happened? You become the food yourself, because even human being can also burn. So that is why you must have an escape plan, and the escape plan is for you to have your back to the wall. Now, when you remember these acronyms, you are going to have some videos that will show you how the fire extinguisher is being used for the practical view of this class. So when you remember these acronyms, PASS, it guides you on the rules on how to use the fire extinguisher. The first thing is that you have to pull the pin. Okay, you have to pull the pin, remove the pin from the mouth of the fire extinguisher. So that pin is always been there to lock it in, so that you don't accidentally discharge it. So you have to pull out the pin. Aim. Where are you aiming at? You are aiming at the base of the fire. Then you squeeze the lever, you squeeze this lever, okay, you squeeze it, and then as you are aiming what the hose, these hose, you are aiming it at the base of the fire, you squeeze it so that what you can discharge it, and then you sweep side by side so that what you can fight the fire evenly, and then you can take it out. All these are very important. So you have to know, like I've explained, that fire is very fast, it grows very fast, it is very dark. In the previous class, I explained that what fire can make you rather than wake you up. Okay, the smoke from fire can sedate you, it can make you to actually, fall into deeper sleep, okay, rather than you waking up. Okay, so when you are caught up in a building with fire, you should be ready to crawl. You should be ready to crawl. You should know that what your your level of surviving that particular what incident, that's for you to actually breathe in, survive on some little oxygen. You have to go down, because in most cases the smoke will come up, and the clean air, which is the oxygen, is denser than this smoke. That is heavier than the smoke. So the oxygen that you need would have sunk below the what? Below the smoke. So if you have the smoke here, if this is the smoke, the oxygen is actually beneath the ground. So the lower you can go, the higher your, you know, your ability to survive, or the higher your chance to survive, to breathe. So it is not healthy for you to be breathing in the smoke from the what? Fire. So you need to actually go beneath, and that's why you see it in most fire drilling. You have to crawl even with your elbows, okay, or your forearms. You have to crawl with that out of the building. And when you are crawling, as you are crawling, you must be using your arm stretch. You are going to see this in the video demonstration that will be shared with you in our discussion class. So you have to check with your arm stretch so that you will know that, so that you will not run into obstacles that can actually what? Hurt you. So you also need to, before you open any door when fire is burning, you have to use the back of your palm, the back of your hand, to first check the doorknob to be sure that what? It is not hot. If it is hot, there is possibility that what? In the other room that you're about to actually what? Enter into, fire has engulfed that place, so it's not safe in there. So don't open that door, find another exit. And even if what? The doorknob is not what? Hot, you must open the door in a very gentle way. You don't just open it very what? Instant. Open it gradually, and take your face away as you are opening it, so in case there is fire in that, because it will be like a very rapid what? Rapid attempt for fire to want to break in, or the flame to want to break into that what? Particular room where you are in. So you need to open it what? Gently, to be sure that what? That place is what? Is very safe for you to what? Enter into. For you to enter into. So you need to be very careful when you do that. If you are trapped in also, and you have to communicate with people that are outside, you need, you know, a white substance, maybe white handkerchief or white clothes. If you don't have white handkerchief, if it's your singlet that you can use something white, because it's very easy for people that are outside to see when you are dangling a white substance, maybe through the window. When the fire is burning, okay, only a white substance in there can be easily visible. Okay, when you look at fire, okay, when it's burning, if you can be seeing some bluish, reddish and all that. So no matter maybe other color, maybe darkish and all that, if you bring all those color and then you are dangling it to signal to people that are outside of the fire department outside that you are still trapped in, they may not see it, it may not be visible for them. But when you use a white substance and you are flinging it, they will be able to actually see that somebody is in there that needs help. That takes us to discussion on JSA, job safety analysis. So we call it JSA. And JSA, what do we use it for? Is a pre-job planning tool intended for identifying all hazards associated with a particular job, and thereby providing guide to safely execute the job. So what we mean is that before you carry out a particular task in the industry, no matter how small the job may be, no matter how small the task may be, you need to first carry out a pre-job planning. So this pre-job planning will help you to identify what may go wrong. It will help you to identify hazards that are attached to that particular job. You know, we talk about hazard identification in our previous class, and we use JSA as a tool. So it is a tool that we use to carry out this hazard identification, because the general hazard identification is done in the company, yes, with the environment, the kind of machineries that you use and everything. But anytime there is a need for us to carry out a particular task, we want to really be sure that what, we guarantee the safety of the people that want to do the job. So it is very necessary, okay, for us to carry out our JSA. What is the purpose of JSA? Okay, JSA helps to improve workers' understanding of what is supposed to happen. So they have to know what may happen in this particular task they want to do. They have to know what is at stake. Okay, it also helps, for us to actually see the job as it what happens. You'll be able to actually you have the ability to have an overview of the job as it happens. You have to see the analysis of the job. Okay, and JSA must be performed by the people that needs to do the job. What we are saying is that what, you don't carry out JSA in proxy. Since you are the one to carry out this particular task, it is very important that you should be involved in carrying out the identification of the hazards. Because when you are able to know what is wrong and you know what is at stake, that your life is at stake, then you'll be very careful. You can't put your safety in another person's hands. So you have to be involved in carrying out the analysis of things that could go wrong, so that the mitigation planning, you will also be involved and be able to recommend what are the things that you need. Are there some specific PPEs and things that could be on ground for you to actually do or carry out that particular task? What are the reasons for us to initiate JSA, job safety analysis? Whenever we want to improve a task performance, let's say they have been doing that particular job task before, and we want the performance to increase, then we can carry out JSA to still identify some hidden hazards that we might not have recognized in the previous time that we carry out the task. Okay, if there are some little changes to the workplace conditions, then we have to carry out JSA. Maybe some things have changed in the work environment, so, and then we know that there may be some other hidden hazards that we have not really identified in the previous time that we carry out hazard identification. We need to carry out JSA. We need to carry out JSA if there are needs for us to verify or update the existing job procedures. There have been some job procedures that we have before, and now we want to update it. We want to check if everything is still like the way it was as at the time we did the previous hazard identification. We may need to carry out JSA for improvement. Okay, if we have an activities that is considered to be high risk, example as we may discuss in this class also, confined space entry, we have to carry out JSA. Okay, and if there are maybe the job has some potential to cause severe or disabling injuries, then we have to carry out JSA. Or if some errors in the course of carrying out this particular task could result in significant consequences, maybe somebody losing a hand, losing a leg, or losing his life, we may have to carry out what? JSA. So it is very important that every employee, is very simple. You have to know how to carry out JSA, how to develop it, how to take an active role in it, and how to use it. So let's see, okay, what our JSA actually what contain, what you should have in the content of your JSA. So we have different templates. If you also check on the internet, you will see some templates of JSA. So you will see that what in your JSA, okay, for you to actually do it, you have to divide the job into steps. So the task that you want to carry out, the task you want to carry out, you have to split it into smaller tasks. You know why you are doing this? Because if you don't split it into smaller tasks, you may not be able to know the hidden hazards that are in there. If you are with me, let me see you give me thumbs up. It's been a while I check up on you. Give me thumbs up, please, if you are still with me. You are doing very fine. You are doing fantastically well. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being with us. Thank you. So you need to split the task into smaller tasks. It will help you, when you have things in smaller units. The smaller unit of this task will help you to see clearer things that may go wrong. So that's why we say you divide the job into smaller steps. Now that you have divided them into smaller steps, let's say your work is you're an electrical person, you say install, what you want to really do is installation of an electric motor, or you say installation of 18 kilowatts electric motor. Maybe this is the task at hand. Now you need to take this into smaller tasks, maybe the layout, the cable layout, okay, the source where you will be taking supply from, okay, the clips that you will use, everything, just the mechanical stand for the electric motor, the coupling. So you have to take all the tasks you will do, just state it, like in a simpler unit. So you now begin to ask yourself, while laying out the cable, what are the things that could go wrong? And when I'm laying out the cables, okay, somebody may slip and fall, you are listing that. So it is when you list this problem, you now be able to know the mitigation plan. What are the things we can put in place so that this does not happen? So you can see the importance of GSA now. So when you know what could go wrong, you can have what? The contingency plan. If it's a PPE that you will use, if it's you have to improve on the procedures that the people that will do the job have to go through to ensure their safety. And then after you identify the potential hazards, now you identify safeguards or the critical actions to take. So the 3 steps of JSA is that split the task into smaller tasks, identify the hazards, and then get what? The action plan or the safeguard. So that is what you have in JSA. So you will see the names, the name of department, the title of the job you want to do. It will be on your JSA. Look at this one. This person is splitting the task into 1 to 10. I don't know if you can see it clearer, but the splitting of the smaller task was actually done into what? 10. So you will see the column that you have here is there is task here. These are the smaller tasks, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You list the smaller tasks like that. Like I said, in the case of installation of electric motor, the title of this one will be installation of 18 kilowatts electric motor, like I said, and maybe the layout, the cutting of cables, the couplings, the electric motor stand, from the source, installation of the breaker, installation of the push buttons and all that. You will list all of them. And then the second column will now be the hazards or things that could go wrong. In the company, in the lane of the cable, maybe you say slip, fall, you will list them out. These are the hazards. And then what are the things that you can put in what? in place. When you say slip and hazard, the person must wear, you now say helmet must be worn, okay, wear your safety boots, all that, whatever you can put in place to prevent all this. So it's just 3 columns that you need: the smaller task, the hazards, and also the mitigation plan that you have. So that is on JSA. Let's talk about the confined space. I just want to mention this because it is very important for us to know what confined space entry is. And confined space is any space large enough and configured so that a person can bodily enter the space and perform assigned work. There are some specific tasks or specific units in some companies, okay, that we call confined space. When you say something is confined, it means that what the space is limited. So it means that what the space can only take one person. In most cases, the exit and the entrance is just one. Once you go in, that's the place where you go in through is where you come out through. And a lot of things can go wrong in there. The one that you can know, or that is very common, okay, that I can use as like a domestic one, is your GP tank. I don't know how many of us here has entered our GP tank before, maybe to clean it or wash it, especially if it's mounted at height, okay, the GP tank. So you can see it can only take one person to go in here, okay. There is limited oxygen. This must not fall, especially if it's mounted at height. The support must be such that what you are very sure that what you are safe while going in. Inside here will be slippery. Inside here that you want to go and wash will be very, very slippery. So you can slip there, you can fall there. It must be such that what when you fall, it's not that what the GP tank will also will roll off from the top, and then the unexpected will happen. So I'm just giving you this kind of example, but let's look at other examples like the one I mentioned now. Tanks. When people enter the tank to go and what wash it, that's a confined space. The sumps, excavations, storage tanks, steam generators or boilers, uh processing vessels, piping railways, vaults, transformers, engine crankers case, the engine crankcase. All these are confined space entry. And why are we actually talking about this? We are talking about this that because the hazards in confined space are very unique and they are very critical. And that is why confined space required some special permits. A lot of things have to be put in place. The JSA has to be rightly done to ensure the safety of the person that is actually going in. Okay, most of the hazards in the confined space, let's explore it. Lack of oxygen. There are some confined space where you have to go in with artificial way of breathing, that's oxygen, for you to survive on. Okay, some confined space contain explosive. There are presence of explosive in there, or flammable gases. So any ignition in there can actually lead to an unexpected incident. Improper isolation of energy can also cause problems in there. Okay, difficulties in hearing. There are some confined space when you go in, you can't even hear properly. Okay, limited access into or exit out of it. So like we explained, confined space is just one person actually entering. The space is quite just as big enough as that can contain one person going in at once. Low level of light, okay, high level of heat, high level of noise. A lot of things are hazards that you can actually have in the confined space. Now what are the requirements for confined space entry? There must be proper inspection. You must inspect the site very, very well. The work site must be inspected. You have to perform the JSA. It has to be right on point. Okay, you have to analyze all the hazards, all the things that may go wrong. That is why I first discussed JSA before discussing this. So you must request for permits. Okay, you must understand the size of the what, or the configuration of the confined space. You must prepare, the energy isolation, how you properly what isolate the energy. That's if you have to perform a lotto, it has to be rightly done to ensure that what, there won't be what, power supply into that particular unit for the time being that you are going to work in there. In case of emergency, in some confined space entry, in fact, the first aiders, they will be on ground. Okay, the medical support will actually be secured on ground in case something go wrong and you have to what, rush at what, saving a life. So a lot of things has to be on ground. The PPE has to be on point. Okay, sometimes they have to test the atmospheric what, the atmosphere where you want to work. The atmosphere, they have to analyze the what, the air in there to actually what, know your chances of what, surviving, working in there. So it's a very very critical thing. In fact, there are some cases that when people are going in, they have to tie, a form of rope or chain around their what, their ankle, their legs, so that when you are in there, that's the, because you can't hear properly, they can't shout in there to ask you if you are fine, and if whether you are answering in there, they may not hear outside. So there are some cases that what, they will just shake the chain or shake that particular wall rope that is tied to your leg. So you also would have to kick and move the chain. So it is by doing this that the person that is outside there will know that what, everything is all right and you are fine. Otherwise, the person may have to be dragged out by that chain or the rope that is tied to his leg. So this is what we have to uh, discuss and sensitize ourselves on confined space, especially if you encounter this at your place of work, then you know what is at stake. All right. So I would briefly also discuss electrical safety. This training is not complete without this discussion. Although I've been mentioning Lotto, talking about line climbers and all that, this is where we properly actually discuss it. Lotto simply means, when you have Lotto, the first LO means lock out, locking out, like your padlock. Okay, when you are locking something out. And the TO means tag out, and this is the case of what, electrical safety. So Lotto is an energy isolation procedure that prevents the unexpected startup or release of stored energy that could cause injury to employees by placing a lock, that's a padlock, and a warning tag on an energy isolation device. What are we talking about? In the case of maintenance or repair that we have to carry out on equipment in our place of work, we want to guarantee the safety of people that want to carry out maintenance and that want to work on this particular equipment by ensuring that for the time that they will work on this equipment, nobody will switch on the breaker that is supplying energy to that particular equipment. So if this is the equipment, Lotto ensure that what, there won't be an emergency you know power supply, or a mistaken power supply, or an unexpected power supply to this equipment for the time being that people that are performing the maintenance will carry out their duty. And that is what we do with Lotto. So in Lotto, what we are doing is that before you carry out the job, depending on where you actually work, or because the procedure of Lotto may be different from company to another company, but by experience, by the companies where I've worked, you know, when I was working in cement manufacturing industry and other industries where I've worked, in most cases, the electrical departments are usually the one in charge of carrying out lotto. So when you want to actually work on a particular equipment, either you want to carry out maintenance or repair, so you have to go to electrical departments and inform them that you have a scheduled maintenance or a repair to be carried out on this particular equipment. So what the electrical will do is to give you a form. We call it line clearance form, line clearance or power clearance form or lotto form, whatever is written on it. So you fill this form. The form is in such a way that you know the way your bank teller is, such that when you fill it, there will be some duplicates. So when you fill it, what are you filling there? Your name. You write your name. You write the name tag of the equipment that you want to go and perform maintenance on or repair on, and you have to state the duration that you want to use. Will it take 2 hours? Will it take 3 hours for this equipment to be shut down? Because you know that company will always guide against what we call downtime. So there is duration of time you have to work on it. You can't take ages to work on it. So if it's 1 hour or anything, you write it, and we have to state the commencement time that you want to start this maintenance. So when you fill this, electrical department will tear a copy out of the duplicate. They will give you a copy. You hold on to a copy. Electrical department will take a copy. That's the tag that they are going to use, and one duplicate will also remain with the electrical. So this is 3 copies. One will go to you, one will remain with the electrical. So the electrical personnel will now follow you. You and the electrical personnel will go to the breaker. That's the breaker that is supplying electric power to that equipment that you want to go and work on. So both of you will go there, so that in your presence they will switch off this breaker and take out the power. Your mind will be at rest. So this tag, what I'm calling tag now, is the copy that the electrical department take with him while following you to the breaker. They will put that paper there. That paper is for anybody that come to attempt to switch on this breaker, for them to see that there are men at work. They are working on this particular equipment. Now there are situations that people will still see this paper and they will still ignore. Some people don't even have patience to read. They may just think that it's somebody that, if you see somebody that is idiotic in nature, he may not even take time to read that paper. He will just remove the paper and power up. And what happened? People that are working on the field, they are the one that will be on the receiving end. If there is no intervention of God, they may die. That is why, despite the fact that we put this paper, we have to padlock the breaker. That's in the aspect of lockout. So you have to put a lock on it. So this breaker is always built in such a way that it must have a house or a casing, such that we can put padlock there and lock it. And the key to this lock must be with you that want to go and work on the field. So you trust nobody. That key has to be with you. You only bring back that key when you are coming back, because you have to come back to the electrical department to inform them that now I am done with the repair or the maintenance I'm doing on this equipment, and electrical will sign it out that you are done. And then you may have to follow the electrical and be sure that, so that your department will not bear the burden of downtime. You have to be sure that yes, I am done with the job. If you are not starting the equipment, it's not my fault. So you have to follow the electrical again for them to go and power it up, and then you give them the lock, which is the key to the lock, for them to open it. So this is the concept of log out, tag out, which is the electrical safety. And that's the briefing. The last thing we need to brief on is on crisis management. Crisis management is the process by which an organization deals with a major event that threatens to harm the organization, the stakeholders, or the general public. In other words, we are talking about foreseeable events that could affect our operation as a company. A lot of things can affect, the operation of a company, and that is why crisis management has to be part of the safety. I could recall in those days, for those people that attended public school, if a public school is fighting with another public school, even you may not know about the fight, but for the fact that you are putting on the uniform, you are in problem. So when they see you and they are fighting your school and they see you in that school uniform, they will attack you. So most cases, students in public school, some of them have, some mufti inside their bag in case there is what a case like that their school now have a fight with another school, and they know that what there are problems, and you have to get home. Of course, you won't sleep in school. You have to go home. They will just change, put their school uniform inside their bag, and wear the mufti, so that what they will not recognize you that what you are a student of so so. What has that student done? That is crisis management. He has planned ahead of the situations that may come up. That's a funny illustration anyway. So what the company does in the case of what crisis management is to put, this in plan in case if it happens. What are the steps in crisis management? We have to identify the crisis, make plans for our response in case if this happen, what will be our response. Okay, the limiting, how are we going to limit the damage in case if it happens. Don't forget that what crisis, no matter how much we prevent it, sometimes it will happen because we have some natural crisis that I'm going to show you the examples of here. So they may happen eventually no matter how you prevent it, but how do we limit the damages? Who are those people that will take up the responsibility? Do we have a team? Do we have crisis management team that will deal with the crisis? Okay, and how do we resolve it so that what we go back into operation and that it doesn't affect the company's productivity? So there are stages. Pre-crisis, that's prior to the event. Warning, there will be warning sign, some indications, okay, that will show you that, oh, something, you know unusual, or something negative is about to what happen. So we need to know that what it happens, there will be warning sign. Okay, crisis point, that's the point what when the crisis actually begin. How do we recover, and then what happens afterwards the crisis? Let's look at the type of crisis briefly. Natural disaster. We may be lucky that in this part of the world we may not have much about natural disaster than flood. But there are some countries that companies they are actually, they have their ears on ground. They must have their contingency plan because anything can happen. Some countries where they have earthquake, volcano eruptions, and all that. Okay, technological crisis. Technology can also pose a level of crisis. What happens as a company when your website is down? You must know that sometimes your website can be down. How will that will send fear in the heart of your clients. What will happen? How do we handle the situations? Look at banks. Most banks, when they have network issues, trust me, they will not even announce it. They will not be quick to announce, because how can you tell somebody who has been waiting for like 3 hours to make withdraw from his account that he has been waiting for 3 hours, now is his turn, and then you want to tell him that we have network issues, you won't be able to withdraw? Air will let loose in that kind of bank. So you will just see the banker, the person in charge, will just be pressing, concentrating as if he's pressing something on his system. He's pressing nothing. In most cases there is problem, the network is not good, there's nothing to press, but it will just be showing you like the server is slow. So what you will just see as somebody on queue is that you just see that the queue is not moving. You say, what happened now? This queue is not moving now. Something is actually wrong. It's just a strategy to maintain what the crisis, the technological crisis they have at hand. Confrontation. Okay, malevolence, organizational misdeed, maybe somebody embezzle and all that. How do we contain this kind of what problem? There is no bank that will confidently come out and tell you that what our CEO, embezzle 10 billion. They know that if they should announce that, everybody, even you that have ordinary 2,000 naira, you say, I hope my money is safe. You see a lot of people closing down their accounts, making withdrawal. They are going to go bank. They themselves will go bank. As a bank, they will go bankrupt if they should let that kind of thing out. You see, they will try to manage that kind of situation because there are some information that should not go out to general public. If not, it's going to send some kind of fear in them. So organizational misdeed, when they are misdeed, what do we do? All these are the plans that companies must actually have what ahead of them. Workplace violence, rumors, sometimes there may be rumor. You remember the time that there was a rumor about OPay. People were saying that OPay may close, this and that and everything, but a lot of people are still operating with it till today. So even your rivals, your competitors can raise some rumors about you. What happens when they raise rumors about us? How do we actually manage it? They can raise rumor about a particular product that don't use this product again. No, it might be your competitors that are doing that. That is enough crisis for a company. How do you manage it? Okay, these are plans, terrorist attack and all that. Okay, so these actually call for crisis management, and there must be contingency plan. What are the contingency plan? So that these are the plans that you have in place in case if something go wrong. These are our line of action. Okay, you have to prepare. You have to have your team. In fact, in some company we have crisis manager. I have worked in a company before, in the cement industry where I worked. We have a crisis manager. Most of them, when you look at the crisis manager or crisis management team, it will be as if they are just coming to work to play, because their work, if there is no crisis, you may not see them in action. But once you have a crisis to handle, you will pity them because they will do most of the work. It is a very ethic thing for you to manage crisis, especially the one that involve you know angry human beings or violence or anything. It is is a very sensitive role to actually play. So it's not easy. So what are the roles of a crisis manager? You have to assess the crisis. Okay, you have to track the event for you to really know how it actually evolved, how the event actually evolved. Managing human consideration, the human consideration aspect of it is there. Most HR that you have in company, their role is to manage crisis. In some schools where you have dean student affairs and all that, their role is to manage crisis. Okay, the role of the local government chairman in the order of our political the order of the tiers of government, okay, is to manage crisis in the locality. The local government chairman should be responsible for the security of the locality, for anything that may be uproar in the locality. Okay, that's why you see that in some country they have local police, they have all these, they have local hospitals and everything. You should be concerned with the crisis in your locality, the concern of the welfare of the citizens in your locality. So it's very important. So the work of the crisis manager is to manage, okay, the human consideration in the case of crisis. Damage assessment, what happens, what are the level of damages that could happen if we have this particular crisis. Okay, what are the resources that you may need, the contingency planning, the how will you manage the communications, the coordination of information, controlling the expectations, managing the legal requirement and all that. Okay, all these are very important when it comes to dealing with crisis. So lastly, let's talk about dealing with the people aspect of crisis. You have to form a crisis team. Is very important. Designate one person only to speak about the crisis to the outside world. That's why you have spokesperson, because when you have three people addressing people, they may have different things to say. So you need to choose one person that will address them. There's a particular movie that we normally use because it's a reality movie. Okay, that's a 33 miners. Okay, you may have what it's been. We'll try to share it to our class discussion group for you to go and see that movie. It's a real life what story of 33 miners that were trapped beneath what the ground. Okay, when they went for work. So you will see the role of the crisis manager there and how to actually what handle in the situation, because when they were trapped beneath the ground, their family had to come to the site. They refused to go home. In fact, the government have to make that place like a home for them. It became like a camp. They have to form a temporary school for their children there, because they remain there until their people will be out on that the ground. You'll be able to see the clear picture of crisis management. So I want to appreciate everyone who has stayed with us on this training. As we have promised, alongside with your certification, you will definitely have these training materials being shared with you. Over to you, Mr. Moderator. Thank you so much.
I want to appreciate. Apologies for that. I want to appreciate our resource person, Mr. James Funny, for that very much engaging and straight to the point class. So on that note, we are bringing to a conclusion to an end the training on health, safety, and environment level 1, level 2, and level 3. Like the resource person did mention, we are going to be giving out the material, that is the course material, at the end of the class. Okay, so please watch out for that. And yes, I mentioned at the beginning of this class that we are going to be having our assessment. So the assessment link is going to be dropped in the comment section on the WhatsApp group, brother. It's going to be dropped there after we dismiss from this class. So please try as much as possible to do your assessment. If there are anyone who has not made their commitment towards the certification for the training, also endeavor to do so uh, before the time elapsed that has been given for you to make your commitment towards the certification. Okay, so quickly let's take questions. Questions. If you have a question, please signify by raising up your hands so we can attend to them. Questions? If you have a question, just signify. Okay. Let me check from our YouTube. We have questions from that one. Okay. All right. So far from our YouTube channel, there is no question as well. Okay, so I want to assume that the class is well understood. Okay, so I wouldn't leave you without saying this. Like I do tell many of our trainees, learning is a continuum. You can't learn everything in this 3-day class. So try as much as possible to do your further studies, your further research. When you give out the course content, please go through them. There are some things that you might still find very, very much applicable and neat, and to come very handy for you when you go through the course material as well. So please endeavor to do that. Safety is your personal responsibility. It's everyone's responsibility, and the chunk of the job lies on you and is actually in your hands. So please, like we do say in one of our safety songs, that you should please take your time to work very safe, because you don't have a second life. Okay, so please let that be our mantra. Someone is asking a question. Okay, Oladile Party Wayomide, good evening, sir. Does the gas in fire extinguishers dry up if it is not used for a long period of time? Okay, I think you are making reference to that's the dry chemical fire extinguisher. It's a dry chemical. It's the dry chemical, I think, which is pressurized. Okay, so if you maybe remove the pin, there is every possibility that it gets discharged. So that is why dry chemicals, when you use them once, you have to recharge immediately, because when you use them once, it automatically was discharged because you already have maybe used it, you have discharged it to select. So there's nothing like maybe you use it to keep dry chemicals. Dry chemicals is always advisable when you use the dry chemical fire extinguisher to replace or pay for another use when necessary. So I think that's the direction your question is. And equal and also the what's it called, the CO2 as well. When you use it once, if it is not properly secured, it can easily discharge as well. That is the CO2. So because yes, it is also pressurized. So once that pin that is used to seal it is not properly secured, CO2, there is every possibility for discharging as well. Okay, so I want to believe perhaps I answered your question. Nevertheless, I will still call on a source person. If there's any additional thing he needs to say on that, then you will hear from him. Mr. James?
When you leave a fire extinguisher for a long period of time without being used, it's good that you take it for servicing. Okay, you can take it for servicing even if you have not discharged it for quite a while. Let's say you have left it for like 2 years, they have not used it, so it's still good for you to take it for examining. So you have to examine, go and service it. Okay, to really be sure that. And another thing is that you can always check the gauge. You will see the if the pointer is on the green portion, it shows that it has not been discharged, it has not been used. So those are the additional tips that you may actually have. But when you leave it for a long period of time, it's good that you take it for servicing. Very important.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. James, for that additional input. Okay, so before we leave this class, let me just call on one person to give us their feedback of the class so far. Uh, okay, I think Oriope did that for us yesterday. Sadiq Adewale, I would love to get your feedback on the class so far. Sadiq Adewale, can I move the mic?
Uh, yeah, the class was really a good class. I learned about the basic fire safety on the types of fire extinguisher, that how we should be able to know the types, the classes on the types of fire extinguisher for us to use. That the class B is for flammable liquids, the C for the that is electrically energized, and also we also talked about the safe and unsafe. No, that was the previous class. We talked about the rules for fighting fires, that we should never fight fire if you don't know is what is what it is burning. Like if you don't know the cause of the fire, that we shouldn't fight the fire, and we should have an emergency line to call, like the fire agent, like call 112 for instance, depending on where you are, and thereabouts with the rest.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Sadiq Adewale, for that wonderful feedback. Yes, it shows that, yes, we are really following. Thank you very much, Damilari Adeleke. So I want to appreciate everyone who has been a part of this learning journey since we started. And glad that, yes, we are able to conclude and bring the class to a conclusion, let me say. Okay, so please, if you are yet to subscribe to our YouTube channel, please do so. We already have the YouTube link on the WhatsApp. So please try as much as possible to subscribe to that channel. There are lots of training videos that you can benefit from. In the coming weeks, we have courses on organizational crisis management and the likes that you can equally benefit from. Okay, so you want to really join in on those classes. These are professional trainings that, yes, when you get out there, they are in demand, and a lot of people are paying and so on before. Okay, so please try to join in on those classes. They are free, so you can easily participate. Just follow the registration procedures that we have put out. Okay, so thank you very much, everyone. On that note, we are going to be doing the curtains here tonight. So we are not leaving one another. We are still going to be communicating on the group. So till the next time we'll have a live class like this, that you will have, be with us in a live class. do have a productive days ahead. And happy weekend to you all. Okay, bye bye everyone. You can just unmute your mic and tell me bye bye.
Bye. Bye bye, sir.
Bye,
Thank you so
everyone.
much for the
Thank
great show.
you.
Bye bye, sir.
Goodbye. Goodbye everyone.